welcome to At the Chalkface, a new channel by myself, Craig.
And I'm Dave. And today we're going to talk to you about who Craig and Dave are, why are we here, and what can you expect from us? So, Craig.
Yeah. And look, you may be aware of us. We're not going to make the assumption. We've been running another channel for a number of years, just simply called Craig and Dave. I think we're up to 60,000 followers, 20 million views. So, and if you know us from there, you'll know we waffle on about computer science, all the subjects, all the theory, exam boards, GCSE level. We chat about our opinions on all things computer science, and that's kind of what we're known for. So why are we starting a second whole channel, and why are we assuming you may be new to us? We're trying something unique and different. If we had a thought, well, no, I'm going to be fair to the audience and be honest. Dave had a thought, did you? And it's spun out. It's sitting there in your grey matter, and it's spun out into this second channel.
Yeah, we're quite opinionated, aren't we, Craig? Let's face it, right? We've been in teaching for a long time, and we'll talk about our backstory in a minute, but we've been in teaching a long time. We've seen a lot of initiatives come and go. We've tried lots of things in the classroom. And there's always something in the educational news. And really, we just want an opportunity to talk about it. And we do talk about these things off camera an awful lot. And we thought, well, why don't we just record this and put it out there for the audience and create a YouTube channel where we can talk about everything in the educational news. We can talk about pedagogy, we can give our opinions, and we can talk about some approaches that you might take in the classroom. And for those of you that are computer science teachers, then you can get a little bit more because you can become a crew member, and you will have some exclusive videos at the Chalkface that are not available to the general public, where we're going to take some real deep dives into our resources and our approaches and how they specifically apply to our subject, which is computer science. But so, Craig.
Yeah, sorry, but it's fair to say this channel is not specifically aimed at computer science teachers, and I want to sort of say that up front. While we will touch on some of those, most of this is really about general teaching pedagogy. One of the benefits, and we will sort of get into our story briefly about where we've come from and why we're here. One of the benefits of not being in the classroom anymore is we have that freedom which we would love to have as teachers, but we know we just don't have because we don't have the time. You don't have the time. We're always told CPD's continual, keep up with the research. That's lovely. And you're given 10% PPA. Well, we know how that easily gets consumed up with everything else in the school day. And you go to the odd inset here and there, and of course, if you're lucky, in game time. But I personally never got the time, and I never found a teacher in my 17 years that had the time to keep up with the sort of professional development which ideally you'd like to be able to do. One of the benefits we now have of not being in the classroom is we have the time, and we do the research. We read the latest books, we lead the latest research, we attend conferences by exam boards and other organizations, and we're able to keep on top of the latest stuff, evaluate it ourselves and think, oh, hang on, this isn't new. This is a rehash of something we've seen from 1990 and again in 2010, and it didn't work then either. So, it's our benefit just to share that with you. And we won't always be right. My God, I haven't always been right in my career, but we will have an opinion, and hopefully we can share those with you and get a discussion going. So, but let's assume that you don't know who we are at all. Why should you even trust us? These two middle-aged, follically challenged guys. Why should you listen to anything we have to say? Maybe we should just chat a little bit about maybe just how we met and histories getting into teaching. So do you want to start off, Dave? And go start wherever you want.
Yeah, well, I'm going to avoid talking specifically about computer science and my background and everything in that. Focus more on the actual teaching element that is relevant to a wider range of teachers out there. So I started to train to teach in 1997. And so I've been teaching now for a very long time. And I've done that in lots of different roles. So as I say, I started as a teacher, then I was an assistant head of year, then I was a head of department, and then I was head of sort of online services, which was more of a whole school role, and director of ICT. And then I became an assistant head teacher. But along the way, I also had a number of other adjacent roles. So I was leader of initial teacher training at the University of Gloucestershire for the subject of computer science. And essentially what that meant was that anyone that wanted to train to teach to be an ICT or computer science teacher had to come through me, both to be accepted onto the programme and also to be trained sort of once a week in pedagogical practice and subject knowledge and things like that. And Craig will talk more about that in a moment.
Well, no, so I came from, I was one of the people that got accepted and had to come through you. So carry on, go on.
Was that a good idea?
I'm your fault.
For another day. Anyway, yeah, we digress. And also, I've been fascinated with the management of whole schools as well. So I've been a governor, I've been a chair of governors at a primary school, so that I had experience across the sector. And then I became a vice chair of a multi-academy trust of primary schools as well. So I've got a broad range of experience in education, and my passion really is to try out new things, create new resources based on research, based on my previous experience, give them a go, see how well they work, and evaluate them, and then change them to make them better and share them with the wider community. So I'm fascinated in educational research and pedagogy, and whether it actually holds up in the classroom and reflects my experience. So that's me. What about you, Craig?
Yeah, so I mean, a similar but different story. I mean, after leaving university, I dived into the world of work. Even though I went to university to train to become a teacher, I took a left, as we often do. You don't want to become a teacher; they're not well paid. And then after several years in the world of work, I was like, oh, I really should have been following the thing that I always meant to do. Don't regret the world of work, because it lends a huge amount of knowledge to what I do in teaching. So I started to train a few years later, so about 2004. So yeah, sort of 5, 6 years later than Dave. And indeed, I think it was your first year, actually, because my interview to be accepted was the outgoing teacher trainer for Gloucester. But once I got onto the course, it was this man who I was sat in front of. So this was my, yes, I was the Padawan and this was the master. And as they say, I've now surpassed the master, and here we are. So yeah, I entered teaching sort of 6 years later than Dave. Similar thing, I teacher of computer science, then became a head of department. I then became the IT coordinator and led strategy at my school. I also sort of stepped up and joined the governing body of the school just to see the different perspective. And although I had aspirations, should we say, as a young teacher to go assistant head teacher, I very realised I wanted to stay in that subject. You know, I'd be teaching less and be removed less from the actual stuff I really enjoyed. So I kind of went down a different route. And although we're not going to make this too subject specific, I went down a route of kind of finding other opportunities to progress myself within the subject that I stayed in, which I know will resonate with a lot of teachers. You know, there's obviously the initiative to progress through the management structure or the pastoral structure, obviously, because that comes with better remuneration and pay, and that's understandable. But a lot of teachers find ways of specialising and staying within their subject area. That's very much what I did there. I got involved in something called the Computing at Schools Master Teacher Programme, became a lead practitioner, and out of that became opportunities. I was actually invited at one point back in 2011, 2012, to go down to Whitehall and help be part of a working group that actually wrote some of the national curriculum for my subject. So please don't blame me if you don't like it in your subject. And I was only part of a big working group. But yeah, I stayed in that area. So like Dave, took lots of different opportunities and really enjoyed learning about sort of the pedagogy, the research, what worked, what didn't. And I'm sure we'll get into that into other videos, because one of the things that really brought Dave and I together, and I'm sure we'll probably get into that, because although I was aware of Dave, obviously, from my training, once I left my training, we maybe bumped into each other maybe once or twice a year on a mutual CPD course in the local area, or maybe one in London. But it wasn't until many years later that we really kind of got together. And it was reflecting on pedagogy and research and questioning all the time how I teach. Is it effective? Is it a better way? Not assuming that I was the teacher and I knew best and no one could tell me any different. But actually brought Dave and I together to fundamentally changed the way we had both been teaching since year dot. And that's really how we got together and spun out the company which we now own, which obviously serves the computer science education sector.
Yeah,
So I don't know, go on, Dave.
It's worth saying that we've worked in a wide range of schools as well, from struggling community schools, some of which have been rated by Ofsted as requires improvement. Is that right, Craig?
No, that's true. Yeah.
All the way up to thriving academies that are stretching to be in the top 25% of schools nationally and chasing positive progress rates and achieving positive progress rates and going further, and then to grammar schools as well. So sometimes people will say to us, well, it's all very well for you working in that grammar school, but what about us in this comprehensive where we don't have quite the same caliber of students? And we've always said it's not about the caliber of the students. Everything we achieved at the grammar school, we could achieve at that struggling school as well. And in fact, we did. We actually migrated our programs from the struggling school to the grammar school to elevate the provision there. So it's a bit of a myth, really, I think, that you can't be successful in all types of schools, because we've proved that you can.
All it is that you, sorry to interrupt, Dave, all it is you face different challenges. Those challenges are no more or less demanding. I will admit I fell into the stereotypes. I only entered grammar school for the last few years of my teaching, that the bulk of it was at comprehensive schools, both LEA and academy ones. And my stereotype was it would be easy to teach at a grammar school. Of course, I can hear the grammar school teachers from all subjects shouting at me now. So I quickly corrected that expectation. The challenges just shifted. Yes, the behavioural challenges were an awful lot less, if not non-existent. They weren't non-existent. I thought they would be. They weren't. They're still there. But the challenges came in the demand, the expectations from both the parents and the students and the staff. And, that drove a very different sort of, it's fair to say, stress. We all suffer from stress and expectations. So all those challenges are there in all those schools, and we've taught in the full range. I just really wanted to underline that. And a lot of the things we talk with are not like, as I say, it's not pie in the sky. Well, that's great if you're at a private school or a grammar school, but that just don't work with my kids. It's we all kind of challenge that kind of belief.
Absolutely. And in terms of what's our classroom practice now? Well, Craig said we've left teaching. It's not 100% true. I mean, we were full-time teachers, and then we went part-time as we realised that we couldn't cope with creating resources and materials for other teachers at the same time as supporting our own students. So we had to go part-time. And increasingly, as we grew and grew, we were able to do less and less teaching, to the point where we actually had to make the decision: do we leave teaching or not? And for me, I was also at a bit of a crossroads. Did I want to rise up to become a head teacher, or did I want to continue to be passionate about what I was doing in the classroom? And I actually chose the latter. But I'm still going into school one day a week just to kind of keep my feet on the ground, and I'm involved in all sorts of activities in the school, from little teaching episodes to being a teaching assistant, to trying out new resources and engaging with other teachers, lesson observations, and all sorts of other things. And Craig too, you go into school from time to time supporting teachers as well. So we're not disconnected from schools in any sense. We just have a little bit more time to engage in the research and pedagogy and the thought process that other teachers may not have the luxury of having. And that's why we want to share that with you.
Yeah, and having said that, I'm just going to add to it. Another reason we started producing resources and putting them online and creating this company was when at the time, new national curriculum of 2012 came in. And excuse me here if you are not a computer science teacher, our subject fundamentally shifted from ICT to computer science. It was a qualitative shift in the subject content, and there were a lot of teachers who were not aware how to teach the subject they were now being told they are teachers of. And I remember at the time us looking at new A-level specs, looking at resources out there and thinking, wow, when was the last time, the blurb looked great, the forward would look wonderful on the resources. This person's chief examiner of X and led this and led Y, and it sounds wonderful. And then you'd buy the resource and you'd be like, when was the last time this person sat in front of year 9 on a Friday afternoon? And it was one of the reasons we started to produce our own stuff. People said they liked it, they liked the thought that went in, they liked the pedagogy that sat behind it. And that's why we started putting it online. I underline all that to say that as we started to go part-time and leave teaching, we were very keen not to become those resource providers. It's very important that we can still resonate with real teachers in classroom, teaching real kids in real situations. And so we do, yes, try to get into schools as often as possible. It's fair to say, I won't mention the school, but Dave recently has actually volunteered and goes back into a school sort of one day a fortnight to see our own resources in practice, in real classrooms with real kids and real teachers, and co-teachers some of those. So we can actually not write a resource, think, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. And then we go, oh, I kind of forgot the reality of how quick a 50-minute lesson goes by the time they come in late from PE and you settle them down. And so we very much are about that. And we go to teach meets, we lead teacher training online, and we get into schools. So we're keen to carry on doing that. So I thought it was worth just underlining that.
Yeah. So finally, I think the last thing to say is that if you are a teacher of computer science and you're in our discipline and you know us for our other channel and our videos, maybe you don't know us for our other products. So we have our website, craiganddave.org, and there you're going to find everything that a teacher needs to deliver the subject of computer science from cradle to grave. So everything you could possibly need. I won't list it all now because it's far too much. We also have a Smart Revise, which is our assessment and revision platform, which is extremely popular with students and teachers up and down the country. And every year we have a festival of computing where we all get together and celebrate our success and learn a little bit more together.
Brilliant. Well, that's it from us. Hopefully, you will stick about with us and watch more of our videos. And we'd love to hear more about you as we progress with this channel. So get in touch, leave stuff in the comments below, and get involved.
What's your story? Why did you get into teaching? Tell us in the comments below.